directly to this issue. It's like shame on us if we don't keep our eyes open. And so just to begin with, several years ago, I went to Africa in search of stories of women who were fleeing the armed conflict in the Democratic Republic of Congo. As a playwright, I was very interested in giving a voice and an audience to the women who were living in the shadow of war. But I was completely and absolutely unprepared for what I found. Time and time again, the women I interviewed recounted raw and ugly tales of sexual abuse and torture at the hands of both rebel soldiers and government militias. And I realized that this insidious war was being fought on their bodies, and their painful narratives became the inspiration for my play, Ruined. And I wanted really to capture the tenacity and the resilience of these women who were attempting to reclaim their lives and move beyond the stigma of rape. And so Ruined, just very briefly, is the story of a shrewd woman, businesswoman named Mama Nadi, who runs a brothel in a mining town in the rainforest. And she takes in 3 young women who she both exploits and shelters. And I wanted to share a very brief excerpt from the play that I feel really captures the nature of the situation that the women are facing in DRC right now. And it will be read by Quincy Tyler Bernstine, who's an absolutely extraordinary actress. And she plays a woman named Salima, who was abducted and raped by rebel soldiers. And she was kept as a concubine for 6 months. And after she escaped, she was taken into Mama Nadi's. And her husband, Fortune, has come looking for her. But she's found that she's pregnant by a soldier, and she refuses to see him. And so this is the monologue that sort of addresses why she won't see him. So, Quincy.
Do you know what I was doing on that morning? I was working in our garden, picking the last of the sweet tomatoes. I put Beatrice down in the shade of a frangipani tree because my back was giving me some trouble. Forgiven. Where was Fortune? He was in town fetching a new iron pot. Go. I said, go today, man, or you won't have dinner tonight. I had been after him for a new pot for a month. And finally, on that day, the damn man had to go and get it. A new pot. The sun was about to crest, but I had to put in another hour before it got too hot. It was such a clear and open sky. Oh, this splendid bird, a peacock, had come into the garden to taunt me, showing off its feathers. I stooped down and called to the bird. St, st. And I felt a shadow cut across my back. And when I stood, 4 men were there over me, smiling, wicked schoolboy smiles. Yes, I said. And the tall soldier slammed the butt of his gun into my cheek. Just like that. It was so quick, I did not even know I'd fallen to the ground. Where did they come from? How could I not have had them? One of the soldiers held me down with his foot. It was so heavy, thick like an ox. And his boot was cracked and weathered like it had been left out in the rain for weeks. His boot was pressing my chest, and the cracks in the leather had the look of drying soap. His foot was so heavy, and it was all I could see as the others took me. My baby was crying. Oh, she was a good baby. Beatrice never cried, but she was crying, screaming. I said, and right then, a soldier stamped on her head with his boot. And she was quiet. Where was everybody? Where was everybody? I fought them. I did, but they still took me from my home. They took me through the bush raiding thieves. Fucking demons. She is for everyone. Soup to be had before dinner. That is what someone said. They tied me to a tree by my foot. And the men came whenever they wanted soup. I make fires. I cook food. I listen to their stupid songs. I carry bullets. I clean wounds. I wash blood from their clothing and I lay there as they tore me to pieces until I was raw. 5 months. 5 months changed like a boat. These men fighting for our liberation. Still I close my eyes and I see such terrible things. Things I cannot stand to have in my head. How can men be this way? It was such a clear and open sky, so beautiful. How could I not hear them coming? A peacock wandered into my garden, and the tomatoes were ripe beyond belief. Our fields of red sorghum were so perfect. It was going to be a fine season. Fortune thought so too, and we could finally think about planning a trip on the ferry to visit his brother. Oh God, please give me back that money. Forget the pot, fortune, stay. Stay. That is what I would do. What did I do so bad? I must have done something. How did I get in the middle of their fight? If this isn't his baby, he's the child of a monster, and there's no telling what it will be. Now, he's willing to forgive me, and is it that simple, Sophie? But what happens when the baby is born? Will he be able to forgive the child? How will I? And even if I do, I don't think I will be able to forgive him. I walked into the family compound expecting wide open arms, an embrace. 5 months suffering. I suffered every single second of it. And my family gave me the back of their heads. And he, the man I loved since I was 14, chased me away with a green switch. He beat my ankles raw. And I dishonored him. I dishonored him. Where was he? Buying a pot. He was too proud to bear my shame, but not proud enough to protect me from it. Let him sit in the rain